we are live. Welcome, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm going to switch this around real quick. All right. So, welcome to another Tuesday segment of the Cash Geeks Network. As you guys know, we go live every Tuesday now at 5 p.m. Eastern. I know we switched up the time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in at the new time, 5 p.m. Eastern. And I'm super excited today because I spoke at an event probably like a month ago. And one of the gentlemen speaking, I feel like the whole room was empty and he was just talking to me. And I'm super pumped because all of us young hustlers are grinding, building businesses, and the last thing that we think of sometimes, some of us, not all of us, is profit first, right? And we always think, oh, I'll make the money later. I'll grind it out and make the money in the future. And there's been a profit first kind of wave going around. And then our guest today, David Richter, actually wrote the book Profit First for Real Estate Investors. And let's bring David on. Yo.
Hey, thanks for
What's up,
having me.
man? Dude,
Hey,
I'm super pumped because I feel like this is and correct me if I'm wrong in your experience, but this is probably the weakest side to a lot of investors out there. A lot of um operators who own businesses and are running around on the, day to day flipping houses, wholesaling houses, rentals, and sometimes we kind of forget to make money, you know?
right,
And or you think you're making money, but you're really not.
right.
And I feel like in a changing market this past, 2022 to now, this has been probably one of the most talked about subjects for a lot of investors, right? It's like, yo, we got to get our bookkeeping straight. We got to get our profits straight. We got to actually make a profit. Um, and so tell us a little bit about yourself, David, and how did you, turn into Simple CFO Solutions?
Yeah. First, I will comment on what you said. Making money and keeping money are two specific skill sets. Lots of
Yes.
people that are listening, you're the A type entrepreneur. You love the deal, you love closing it. And I get that. I 100% get that rush. That's where the keep side is more like, ah, man, I don't want to do anything with the numbers. And I'll get into my
Yes.
story and we'll get into that later. But it's two different skill sets. And if you're going to be a business owner and not just a hustler grinder, grinding it out your whole life, you've got to either get someone in there or you've got to know at least enough there. So
Right.
hoping on this podcast can give you a little bit of first steps there to at least go down that path without having to beat your head against the wall or becoming some
Yes.
financial guru expert or anything. But my background is real estate investing. Read Rich Dad Poor Dad in college. That would forever change my mindset. And then from there, linked up with a real estate company where we took it from about 5 deals a month to about 25 deals a month, from anywhere wholesaling, retail properties, rentals, subject to, turnkeys, everything you could think of on the residential side. And we got to about 25 deals a month, 300 deals a year. But we were spending about 26 worth of properties a month. So who cares if you're doing a million if you spend 1.1?
Yep.
I got to sit in a lot of different seats there too. So I've got a wide background in the real estate field, transaction coordination, marketing, sales, acquiring, dispo, like everything that you could think of there. One of the last seats I sat in was the finance seat. And I know it will come as a shock, but even though I look like the bookkeeping person or like the accountancy, CPA, I am not at all. I am the
Oh, gotcha.
entrepreneur to the core. And that's where I had to learn. I learned that year how to read the profit and loss, how to read the balance sheet, how to read the story, honestly, of the business, because that's what
Right.
the numbers really tell you. Like if it's a horror story or a love story, or is there any story that you can read? So
Yeah.
that's where that year I read this a story. I'm like, holy crap! Like we're spending, more than what's coming in, and like we've scaled this operation. We've got this big thing going on. We were really good at bringing the deals in, but more deals weren't solving our root problem. So
Yep.
that just got me thinking. You asked about the journey. That it was eye opening to me that we could be doing so much, yet who cares? Like if we're not going to actually make any money at the end of the day and keep it in our pocket. Then I was going to mastermind events and meetups and to the different real estate places, and it's
Yeah.
like I was hearing the same thing. They'd be like, "Yes, we did this much." Like on stage, they would say this. Then back at the bar, it's like, "Oh, they're crying in their drink." It's like, I don't know where my cash is going, And
Yes.
to me, that's where my eyes were open. It wasn't just us, it was other people. It
Yep.
was, like, encouraging and discouraging. It was encouraging because
Yes.
just us, discouraging because it's an epidemic. So I
Right.
see that that was what even opened my eyes to it. Then through a series of events, I moved across the country, worked with another investor, saw the same thing. His numbers were a mess, didn't know where his money was going, was good at making the money come in the door, but then not good on the back end of like, what do I do with it or where was it even going? So I
Right.
helped put some simple systems in place and like just to know what he was making, spending, and keeping, where it was all going. He said that was life changing. And to me, that was the light bulb moment of I need to start a company that just gives people clarity. Like that
Yeah.
just helps people have clarity with those numbers because then they'll have more power to change them. That's what birthed Simple CFO. Then I could go into like right when I started that company, I reached out to one of my mentors. He said you should read the book Profit First. So that's how I got introduced to Profit
Mm.
First as well too. One of my mentors told me to read it, so that changed my life again. And read
Yep.
that book in one sitting and wrote 10 pages of notes and said this is how I'm going to incorporate this framework into Simple CFO. And that's where about a year into it, I went to the original author of Profit First, Mike McCowitz, and said, I've got a heavy real estate background and I've now implemented Profit First and love it and like seeing actual results with the people we're working with. Could I write that book? So that's how I got linked up there and became the author of Profit First for real estate investing. So there's a very high level journey with
That's awesome.
not a lot of specific details, but at least a high level journey of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
going from
So
real estate investor to Simple CFO.
what was because you mentioned you were going to college and that's where you read Rich Dad Poor Dad. What was
Yeah.
your like what were you going to school for?
Secondary education. I am
Nice.
yeah, so it was just to be a teacher. So now I just teach in a different manner, teaching
Yeah.
people how to keep
That
more of
makes
what they're
sense.
making.
That
But
makes sense.
but yeah, that's what I went to school for.
Dude, I was thinking about like I kept hearing about this profit first thing for real estate investors, and I was like, man, one day I need to read this book and whatever. And this year, um, I parted ways with the previous business partner, and
Mm,
a lot of the all on great terms, still boys
yeah,
till
good.
today, so it's awesome. But he kinda took care of a lot of that back end stuff, you
Sure.
know? And
Yep.
this year, I'm just wheeling and dealing, and I'm like, "Crap, I haven't been in QuickBooks for 4 months," and now I don't even wanna open it because I know what it looks like, so I'm like, "Ah, I don't even wanna go."
Yeah.
Um, and then I go to this event, and then I see, like, you're there, and I'm like, "Oh my god, alright, I need to read this book." So, literally bought the book while I was there, got to my house, like, a couple days later, and I was traveling, week after that, and so I read the book on the plane, was taking
Nice.
massive notes, and, dude, just the book is phenomenal. Just the book is phenomenal as far as the breakdown, the storytelling, the examples. I'm not a it's hard for me to finish books.
Yeah.
Like, I hate finishing books. I'll read, like, the first chapter, and I'm like,
Right.
"Alright, I get the message," I get
Yeah.
it, right? And it's like, "Okay." Um, but this book, I felt like I needed to finish,
Yeah.
and, it was good. It was awesome, and I like that you broke it down, between the differences of flippers businesses versus rental businesses and
Yeah.
how those have a difference on profiting first and stuff like that. So that was really, really cool to see firsthand. But then you just start to, get the wheel spinning, right?
Yeah.
And so what would you say? Because right now that turned into Simple CFO. So real quick plug. What is Simple CFO?
Okay. So everyone puts us into the bucket of bookkeeping and accounting. What I provide is a financial leader, though. Because, like you said, I don't want to touch my QuickBooks, and we hear that all the time. But if I give you a bookkeeper, are you going to manage them? Are you going to know what
Right,
to give
right,
them? Are you going to communicate with them when they speak Accountanese with you? It's
yeah,
like that's where what I built is something where it's a financial leader who glues those pieces together, who manages the financial department, who implements profit first, who holds you accountable to being profitable and making sure that the numbers are there so we can make decisions together. Are you keeping what you
right,
want to? Are you making enough to be able to keep what you want to? Are you spending it in the right place to get a return to make sure that you're pouring the money where it should go so you're not just wasting a lot of cash out the door? So I provide that financial leader on the team that a lot of people have they've never heard that concept before, but it's like everyone wants to keep more money, but they think they have to be the bookkeeper, CPA, or that's the answer. And a
Right.
lot of people just say, here, just do this stuff and hopefully it's all good. I don't have to pay a bunch of taxes at the end of the year and then we'll just keep moving on. But that's not what a business owner does. I love what you said at the beginning. It's not just all about the hustle and grind for your whole entire life. You need to build a real business. There's a
Yeah.
hustle and grind season. That's what my mentor says. Hustling is a season, not a lifestyle. So it's like that's
Mm,
where it's like at the beginning, hustle grind, but then you need to build something sustainable. And how do you do that? You make your numbers more predictable, but you have to know them. The
right.
number one reason people lose sleep at night is not because they're losing money in their business, they don't know how much. It's like you
Yeah.
need to have the clarity. You need to have a light shown on it so that way you can say, one of my other friends says, it's sniper mode. I need to go into sniper mode. Am I not making enough? Am I spending it in the wrong place? Or is it a keep problem? Like I just don't have good money habits to keep it. And it's like now you can attack it once you have that clarity. So that's what Simple CFO does, puts that leader on the team. It's a part-time chief financial officer. Because if you're a small business coming up the ranks, you're probably too small for a full-time CFO, paying 250, 300 grand a year, but you're
Right.
too large if you want to get to your first seven figures or wherever that first number is for you. You're too large not to have someone helping you with that keep skill because a lot of people have the make skill as the entrepreneur,
Yes.
especially from the 0 to 1 million. It's like that's where a lot of people just need them to help on. Here's who
Yeah.
you should have on the team. Here's what they should be doing. Here's the numbers that we need to look at. Here's what to execute on to make sure you keep and you have a sustainable business. So there you go. That's
Yeah.
a little bit about what we do and how we do it.
No, I love it, man. And it's funny because so I just got home from a mastermind weekend,
Yeah.
and in the room, um a lot of the shares, because it's always that, right? It's always like making a ton of money. How do I keep more money?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that's always a challenge. And
It's a challenge for a
dude,
lot
the
of
the
people.
profit first model came up probably like 4 or 5 times in my room.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because I got to pick your, because just being fully transparent, like
Yeah.
you read the book and you're like, "Oh man," and it says it in the book, like, you're probably seeing all these bank accounts and you're like, "Man, do I gotta set up all these bank accounts,"
Right.
right, and all that, and so it was really cool. I got to meet just this past weekend 3, maybe 4 investors that have been running that model for a while, where
Awesome.
they'll get the check,
Yep.
the wire hits, and then I'll never forget one of the guys that was like, "So how often do you, like, add it to the other accounts?" And he was like, "No, you just do it as soon as you get the money." He's like,
Yeah.
"So as soon as you get the money, like, you have to do that?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like, or else you'll, like, forget, you'll put it
Yeah.
off." Um, and so it just became a practice, right? As soon
Exactly.
as
A
money hit,
process.
and it was awesome because they had, like, yeah, we pay ourselves, 48%, and then this amount goes into our marketing, and this amount goes into our profit. Uh, so it was just cool to hear it firsthand, not just
Yeah.
from the book, or,
Right.
it was just
From the
investors who have been
source.
on this model and they're just like swear by it. Um, and it makes sense because not always are just like we've been saying, not always are the biggest revenue numbers. Sometimes, you think they're the hottest and the sexiest, but they're not making any money. And then you have
No.
other people who are like, maybe they don't appear to be the sexiest or doing the most deals. And they're like, yeah, I'm on this freaking model and dude, I'm fucking finally making money, And
Right.
so it's just unique to experience it firsthand, and then to have been one of those people, right? Like you said, like, bringing in a mill, but spending 1.1, like, dude, I was bringing in 4 mil and spending 5.
Yeah.
And it was
Yep.
always because just next year we are gonna, next year it'll pay off.
We'll catch up.
Next
Yeah. It'll
Correct.
catch up.
Yeah, yeah. And, so working with investors, if you don't mind me asking, like,
Yeah.
what would you say is, like, the biggest, I guess, like roadblock, not roadblock, but like challenge of an investor going from like, I've just always done things my way, right? And then they, work with Simple CFO and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that." Like
Sure.
what would you say if anything?
Well, the biggest thing is the gap. They think there's this huge gap from being the business owner who makes money to knowing about the financial end and like thinking, okay, I got to know all the profit and loss, the balance sheet. I got to know how to speak their language. And I would say that's one of the biggest mindset challenges, because that's
Mm,
why most investors stick their head in the sand, because of that gap, that knowledge gap. They think it's a bigger hurdle. But like, if you've
mm,
read Profit First, you're probably a lot closer to that, where you actually know what you need to know. Like, you need to know about cash, how much is coming in, and where to put it. That
right.
really, as an entrepreneur, is like 95% of it. If you want to stay in
Yes.
business and you want to build a business that's profitable, then it's amazing if you get the cash portion right, how clean the profit and loss and the balance
Right.
sheet and everything else looks, and how much easier it is to look at those things, because now you're profitable, you've got cash in the bank, you want to look at it. It's those good feelings that create the other things that make you hungry
Yes.
to learn about, okay, so what do these numbers mean on the back end? So I feel like it's that knowledge gap where people think they have to become as smart as the bookkeeper, the CPA, and it's like, well, no, you don't. You need to have a few key pieces in place. If you're going to have a marketing and sales process, we should have a process for our cash once it hits, because you need
Right.
marketing and sales to drive the revenue. Yeah, that is still in first position. But like, if you're going to do that, then 1A is having a process to keep it. So it's like,
Right.
then you have
Right.
to have that process in place. And that's what drove me to Profit First. Cause like I said, like, even though like I look like that MO, that's where, as an entrepreneur myself, reading that book was eye opening to me, because it was habits I was already doing as an entrepreneur, but just now harnessing those
Right.
habits to be a better business owner and be able to manage every dollar that comes in and give those dollars a name, and then be able to pay myself and be able to save for the taxes,
Um,
be able to take a lot of the stress off that a lot of people have around the money in their business. And like you said, other investors out there, this is how much I pay myself, this is how much goes to marketing. So I think it's that knowledge gap is the biggest hurdle, because they think that I need to go from here. Like, I don't have any. They'll come into ashamed and embarrassed. I don't know how to read the P&L or the balance sheet, or I don't have any books set up, or I have no idea what's going on. And it's like, okay, we need to take baby steps. This is not you going from, 0, and we're going to make you 10 and you're going to be able to file your own tax return. It's like, well, no,
right.
you never
Gotcha.
need to do that. You need to go from 0 to like 1 or 2. And like, the first baby step is like, can we get your cash in order? Because you're already managing it. You're already managing it as the business owner. It's just probably not the best practices right now, because you don't know the best way and don't have systems to
Right.
manage it. It's just money comes in and you spend the money, or it's like, oh, that sounds good. We got a lot of money in the bank account today. Great. Let's spend the money. Oh, we don't. Let's
Right.
be frugal today. It's
Yeah.
like, that's how most people
Dude, when
manage
you
it.
said that in the book, oh
Yeah.
my god, I was like, I know hundreds of people. I know I'm one of them, and I know, and if I'm
Yeah.
one of them, I know there's probably a ton of them where it's just like, yeah, that's you wake up. Sometimes if you're feeling ballsy, you'll check your bank account,
Right.
and if you're not
Yep.
ballsy that day, you're like, "Ah, I don't even wanna check it.
Right.
Let me just go grind and let me go find a deal," and that's my peace
Yeah.
of mind. Our peace of mind of, am I making money or not is, well, if I go buy another house, that'll help. You know what I mean? If I
Right.
go wholesale another deal, it'll help. And I think that was the biggest thing for me was, um, realizing that I needed to, kinda slow down
Yeah.
in a way, not slow down to, let me lessen my goals or whatever, but, let me figure this piece out first,
Yeah.
because I think I figured out how to, mind fuck myself, and I was like, "Well, if I figure this out, then I will have more peace of mind to go hunt more." You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Exactly.
Um, Instead of just like, "Alright, do I need to make money? Okay, let me go buy a house." Oh, d you know what I mean? And then, just feeling like that peace of mind of like, "Holy crap, I do have money now," right? Like,
Yeah.
well, let me go make more of it. Because
Right.
before I felt like I had to, and
Exactly.
now I see, obviously, I always feel like I have to make money, but you know what I mean?
But
It has that peace of
it's
mind of, like,
yeah,
I
it's
know I have money
desperation.
and desperate exactly.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a great way to
desperation
say it.
versus intentionality. And that's
Yes.
why I tell Joey's story so much, like in the book from stage, like he was the typical, I need to just scale and do more deals. And in like 2019, did more deals than he's ever done, lost
Yeah.
more than he's ever lost. The next year did like a third of the deals, but like put more in his pocket than he's ever put in
Yeah.
his pocket before. And it's like, that's where sometimes you slow down to speed up, because now you're
Correct.
speeding up and your profitability is just faster and better, and you can do more deals. He's doing more deals than he did in 2020, now, but now he's more profitable too. So
Correct.
it's like that's the thing that, like you were saying, if you slow down and you really focus on the root issue, because it's not just you, it's everyone out there. They think more deals solves the problems, and I'm here living proof myself and the people we've worked with and just everyone. It's that doesn't solve the root issue. The root issue is if we're going to make the money, we need a system to make sure we're keeping it as well too. And that's what Profit First was to me, the eye opener, and that's why I tell that as much as possible. Got the book out there and just trying to give people that peace of mind.
No, that's awesome, man. And so when working with you guys, like,
Yeah,
when would you say an investor is like, would you say there could be some investors like what is the
yeah.
perfect rev is it revenue? Is it deals? Like when does it make sense to start working with
Well,
someone like
we've got a couple different programs. If you're
that?
under 250,000 in revenue or like gross profit, then we've got like a newbie type thing where we just lay the foundation. Then we've got the program for if you're making over 250,000, it's time to start thinking about a part-time CFO on your team to make sure as you're scaling up profitably and not, going
Right.
down the more
Right.
you go up. So it's like that's where we start to come into play. Honestly, our sweet spot is people making 500 to 5 million. So that's really where we
Okay.
are in this marketplace because that's where we see a lot of the people just don't have good, simple finance 101 systems like Profit First,
Right.
knowing how to read the profit and loss, the balance sheet. So we're much as a financial guide and coach as we are an actual CFO managing the financial department and your bookkeeper and the CPA and that type of stuff. We're also coaching the owner on how to be a
Yeah.
great business owner. So I would say those are the different. We've got programs for newer people, but then we've got one program, our main flagship program for the people making 500 to about 5 million.
That's awesome, man. So I am just curious. How was the
Yeah.
process of the book? So you
Ooh,
mentioned you reached out to him and you're like, yeah, I got a ton of real estate experience. I've been living
yeah.
by this model. Like, how was that? I just think that's so badass. And as an entrepreneur, I'd love to pick just hear that
Yeah.
journey.
So there was a little bit of pre-planning. I wanted to, in order to sell Profit First services, you have to become a part of his what Mike calls the Profit First professional group. So
Okay.
I became a part of that to be able to have that as one of the packages inside of Simple CFO to be able to say this is Profit First and this is how you do it. And then I wanted to get success stories too. So I started implementing it and had people like Joey and Dan and like Steve and like some of the first people I remember that we ever implemented with and saw the success, and that's where from there went to Mike about 8 months into it, a year into it, and said, hey, I've had success. And I emailed him, just sent out an email. Would like to talk to you about, potentially doing one of your, offshoot books for Profit First for real estate investing. So from there, he emailed back, let's get on a call, scheduled a call July 2020. I'm pretty sure that's the year it was. And then from there, he said yes and gave the green light. And from there, it was about 18 months, 6 months of writing it, 6 months of editing it, and 6 months of like marketing it to get out the door. So it was one of the
Wow.
longest projects of my life because I'm a very much like, ooh, I can see it. Let's go. Let's do this thing.
Right.
That one I had to slow down. The book world is just a totally different animal. You've
Yeah.
been in real estate, you've been in small business, you might have been in corporate or W-2 before, but like the book world, different monster. So that was very interesting. All the different people on your team that you had to have. There's three different types of editors, like for your copywriting, but then for the actual punctuation, and then for how the stories flow and like how the actual words come out and does it
Wow.
make sense? It's just
Yeah.
it was crazy all the stuff and all the hurdles. So that's where it's like if someone puts out a real book out there, it's not just a 50 page, here's my free, ebook. Nothing against those, but like if you put out a book that has editors and all that, mad respect to you because it is like
Hell yeah.
it is a hill and a huge lift up that hill. So
Yeah.
that was the process, and then it came out. I just celebrated the 2 year anniversary, December 7th. So
Oh,
2 years
nice.
ago that it came out officially, and then has just sold multiple thousands of copies up to this point.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's a great story. So why did you what made you wanna write the book? Like, if you were already getting certified for Profit
Yeah.
First, you already had Simple CFO going, like, what made you do that?
Oh, there's definitely several different reasons. I'll give you the one that it's like this was one of the core reasons. I felt like this message was so good, and I got so many questions of how to implement profit first from people who had read the original and how to apply it to real estate. I'm like, I want to get it out there to everyone to be able to just give, here's some baseline, here's the first way steps to put it in place, give you practical steps there. Another reason was that there was, I wanted to make sure that I couldn't work with everyone, so I needed to get this message out too. Like there
Right.
was a lot of people coming in the door, no, like, okay, this is weird. We've never heard of a part-time CFO. We've heard of bookkeepers and CPAs, but someone that's actually focusing on the profitability. I'm like, yes. So I wanted to kind of get some of what we were doing and bottle it up into book form, because I'm like, this is what people really care about. You care about the money in your pocket as a business owner and how to pay yourself more, just pay yourself anything at all
Yeah.
consistently, and like how to even out that side. So that was number two. The third thing, like another thing that went through my head, that obviously why people write books is authority too. I
Yeah.
wanted to be an authority, a credible piece, so that people, when they heard me, would associate that. And then as this started to take off, like, here, this is something you could do, you can trust me. Like, we've had these clients go through it, we've had people outside of people that don't even work with us, like, you went to this event, they probably read the book or read a portion of the book and started implementing just to see that it works. So it's
Yeah.
like, I can give you hope as well too, because so many people, once they get into real estate, if you've ever played Cash Flow 101, Robert Kiyosaki's game, you've got the little wheel in the middle, like you're trying to land on the green spaces and get deals to be able to get out of the rat race and onto the fun track. So many people live the real estate world. They think that once you get into real estate or you get into being a business owner, you're right on that fun track. Like, yes, I'm going to make more money. I'm really good at making the money and the money flow in. But so many people don't really have a system to keep it. So they're stuck in that wheel instead. And they've
Yep.
traded the W-2 paycheck to paycheck living for deal to deal living. And now they're
Yeah.
just landing on the little green spaces, but just keep going after that year after year and never get to the fun track, never get to just do what they want and have the passive income and doing all of that. And that's where I thought a book can at least break through there. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's all these same concepts we've heard in Rich Dad Poor Dad, where he says, pay yourself first, like a million times. The
Yeah.
Richest Man in Babylon, a
Richest
portion of
Man
all
in
you have is,
Yeah.
like, all these books say the same concept.
Yeah.
Profit First took it a step further and said, here's how you do it. Here's the
Right.
system for the finances that's built for you, Mr. or Mrs. Entrepreneur here, like, to make sure you can implement it in your business as well, too. So that way you can keep it. So that's why the book, several different reasons there.
Dude, that's awesome. And that is true. It is very actionable after you read it. Real quick, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
what would you say if someone were to be like, "Dave, give me a 1-minute summary of the book."
Yeah.
Do you have
One,
that?
a 1 minute
It
summary?
doesn't have
No.
to be 1 minute, but it can just be a
Sure.
just a quick summary. Because I have, like, dude, as I was reading it, I was on the plane, I was taking pictures of each bank
Yeah.
account. Because my partner, he's like, "Dude, people have different bank accounts, we need to set up different bank," so, like, he had
Yeah.
that concept. Then I read this book, and I'm like, "Yo, this is exactly what you were fucking talking about." And
Yeah.
so I, like,
Yeah.
snapshotted pictures of all the bank accounts, was texting it to him as I was on the plane, reading the book. So what would be a quick summary of
Sure.
the book?
Now, I will say I do have a cheat sheet that I can give here whenever you want me to at the end or
Okay.
whatever. That gives the
Oh,
first
hell yeah.
5 steps. It's a one pager. This is how you implement Profit First. Has hyperlinks to, like, some video walkthroughs and, like, some charts and stuff, so that way you can actually get it implemented. So I'll make sure to give that. But if I gave just a quick overview of Profit First, quick synopsis and Profit First for real estate investing, it's all about making sure you put more money in your pocket. And how do
Yes.
you do that? Number one, you make sure profit comes first in your for profit business. So many people pay everyone else and their mother. They run their business and it's become a cash eating monster. But this is where now you have a simple system to implement that is based off the envelope methodology. The actual practical, tactical steps behind it is like the envelope method. Now you're going to use, instead of the envelopes, to separate all your expenses, like in your personal life that Dave Ramsey and other people have made very popular. You're going to do it in your business, but with bank accounts. That's why we keep talking about bank accounts. You're going to literally set up specific bank accounts, name them specific things that matter to you as a business owner, like profit or your owner's pay or taxes, and, like, making sure that now every dollar that comes in has a name. So you already check your bank accounts, like you were saying. It's like you're gonna when you're feeling good, you're gonna open up those bank accounts, and now instead of it being in one big bucket, you're gonna have it spread out, and you're gonna have the dollars named. Do I have enough in my OPEX account, my operational expenses, to run the expenses? Do I need a marketing account to make sure I have enough to run our campaigns and all of that? Profit and owner's pay, like, do I have enough to pay myself? Now, every dollar that comes in, you're going to give a name. So you place it in the different bank accounts. And then, well, like you said, every time money comes in, or at least once a week, move it to those bank accounts so it's never just sitting in one place, so you can actually know where every dollar is going. So that's a quick synopsis. But I promise, like, if you just put some of that into place and get those first steps here, like I'm going to give you, like from the cheat sheet, then you are going to be able to keep more of what you're making. I've had people just open up one bank account and start saving just a small percentage. And they're like, wow, I've never been able to do that. But they've just never had a system. They've never
Correct.
had good habits with their money. That's what I tell people. I want you to get in good habits. That's why, too, I like working with the people that are starting to scale up, because, like, I want to instill those habits as early on as possible. If you're already at 5 million with bad habits, that's fine. We've helped those people too, but you have to unlearn what you've learned sometimes. And like,
Yes.
now we've got to reinstill some of those, habits inside your business. But there you go. There's a quick synopsis of
Dude, I love
profit
it. That
first.
was perfect. That was awesome. And it's true, man. I looking back, I wish I would have cared a little bit more about that, and built up, like you said, build up the solid
Yeah.
habits, right? Because it is a habit. Because it's just like, even you can build a checklist in your company, you still have to actually do the checklist.
Right.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Has to
And so
be a
what
habit.
happens, you're correct. And so you're like, oh, I got the deal, I got the checklist, but I don't feel like doing the checklist. Like, we just got to close it, you know?
Right.
And so it's like
Exactly.
building the habit of like, no, fill out the checklist. We need to do it. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so building just that habit of, okay, we made some money. All right, let's put this in this account, put this in that account. Um, and that's, when you said habits, that's what I think it is, because I feel like that's also going to be my challenge.
Yeah.
Is, you get excited, you read a book, you implement a bunch of stuff, and then you're like, oh crap, I gotta go, change the accounts again. I didn't have time to do
Yep.
it yesterday. And then 2 weeks go by and you're like, screw it. Like, too complicated, like just shut down, whatever, right? And so like that's my fear with this. And so I'm trying to stay on top of it, right?
Yeah. That's
Um,
why I started Simple CFO. You know why?
correct.
Because
Yeah.
so many people would come to me and they said, I've set up the accounts, but I've stopped utilizing it. Or like, it's all
Yes.
sitting in one account still. Or like, we started it and I did it for the first month, but then, deals happen. And like,
Yeah.
it was Christmas time. And then it was the new year. And
Correct.
then it was like April. It's like, it's just
Yes.
all these things start to pile up. And it's like, no, need someone holding you accountable who actually knows. You also said something too that I want to latch on to. You said, like, I felt like I should have put more emphasis on this, like when I first started, or like I wish I would have cared more about
Yeah.
this. And I tell people all the time, people don't know where to start. That's why I say the gap in knowledge. People think you have
Yes.
to go from zero to becoming this bookkeeper or know what an accountant does. And it's like, no, it's these first steps of, can I set up some bank accounts? Can I name my dollars? Yes. Well, then most entrepreneurs on the face of the planet who can read can do that. And
Yes.
it's like, then from there, it is having the discipline. It is
Yep.
having financial discipline to say, when money comes in, I move it to the different accounts. And it's like, that's where a lot of people just have never been introduced to something like this, because how many personal finance gurus are there, are out there? Go to any bookstore and there's like hundreds of those books.
Yep.
But where are the business finance people, the business
Uh,
finance gurus that are telling you, here's 0, 1, 2, and 3 steps, like to get this up and running? And that's where I'm like trying to just beat that drum from the business end. Because if you're going to be a business owner, you need some of those same habits. But business is a little bit bigger and a little bit more complicated, and you've got a little bit more going on. So here's the simple steps to start. So it's like, a lot of people say, I wish I would have done this years ago. But before Profit First, and before there was more of these fractional CFO types out there, all you had was bookkeepers, CPAs, and people who speak
right.
Accountanese, and like, not the people that are actually helping how to actually translate the numbers into something you can use on a daily basis too. So I would say there's a couple things from what you just
Yeah.
said.
No, absolutely, man. I agree. I agree. And I think it's awesome that, like, you wrote the book, and you said the book came out in 2021, right?
Oh, yes, it did. Yep.
So, like, for us that got started before that, like, that wasn't even a thing.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
like, So it's just a blessing that it's out there, so thank you for doing that.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
like, for people getting in the game, like, just having the ease of reading the book for your industry, because you can go and read Profit First.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I'm sure you can, but you would have to apply it into your business. Like you said, you had certain mentors like help you figure out how to apply it
Mhm.
into the industry, and
Yep.
that's a lot of the challenge, right? In
100%.
all industries is like, hey, there's this really great book on sales, but how do we take those sales and apply them into buying houses, right? Because
Right.
it's like we're not even selling anything. Technically, we're trying to buy
Right.
a
You're
house,
trying to buy.
So it's like,
Exactly.
how do I, whatever, right? So you know what I'm trying to say. And so you
100%.
have to do that mental game of like, okay, this in my business, I can do this, whatever. And so, like, with just having the book, laying it out exactly. And for people that are listening, I highly encourage everybody, like, this book is not a you should read, it's a you must read. And as you read it, you will understand, like, that it feels good to know that you're not on your own,
Yeah.
right? And just to, like, you can read books of, like, the example, like, for example, there's, like, the E-Myth, right? And in that book, they'll talk about, the example of the baker, right? And so it's like,
Right.
okay, but I'm not I don't have I'm not a baker, right? But, like, when
Right.
you read this book, it's like, hey, this is exactly about flipping houses or rentals, and just the examples of other investors going through the same thing, and understanding the reality of, like, we are hustlers, we are chasing the next deal, so, like, being told that, like, it's okay that you're doing that, but we also need to do this, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was really cool, is not only just reading a concept of profit first, but for me as a real estate investor, I need to be told exactly how it applies in my business, or else I'm just going to think about something else. You know what I mean? And like, I won't know exactly how to apply it.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to write it, because like I've been in the real estate world, and it's like I need to translate this to the real estate. So because there's so many things you could do and how to apply it, and I've gotten so many questions and needed to put that in that book format. And that's where I want to get this out as much as possible. So in that
Yeah.
cheat sheet, you also get the e-version and the audiobook too. So I'll make sure to
So
drop that link here at the end.
so how do people get that cheat sheet?
Okay, so here you go. So with this cheat sheet, you get the first couple steps here with a link, and it is literally one page. I try to make it simple. The second page is like a visual overview of Profit First, so you can, for the visual learners out there, you can get a nice, pretty picture of like, because I like pretty pictures. So it's like, here you go. Here's how the process flows. But if you go to simplecfo.com/cash geeks, and then you can download it there. We built a site. It should have Cash Geeks right there, so it'll make it real easy that you know you're at the right place. Download that. It also has the book on there, a link to the ebook and audiobook. If you want the print version, I can only get that to you via Amazon, so you got to go there. But if you want the e-version, audio version, you can go and get it at simplecfo.com/cash geeks, and it should pop up, and you
Hell
just
yeah, dude.
get the cheat sheet for if you're listening here.
Oh, that's awesome, bro.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Incorporate some cash geeks.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome, man.
exactly. Because
So
I
on
do.
that link, so people will get the cheat sheet. Is there a link to get the book there also?
If they download that cheat sheet, it's one of the points at the top. It's
Oh,
like,
perfect.
here, because I say on there, like, hey, book is a lot of work. I get it. So if you want the cheat sheet, here's it below. But if you want a link to the book, it's right here. So they can
Perfect.
at least get the e version or audiobook
Yeah,
if they want to dive deeper into
absolutely.
some of those points on the cheat sheet. But then if that whets their appetite, they could go get the physical copy too if they want. But that'll at
Yeah.
least get them started. Like I said, I didn't write this book to make a ton of money from the book. I wrote this to get the information out there because, like you said, I believe the same thing as what you said. Everyone should read this if they want more peace of mind with their money and want it
Yes.
spoken to them in a language they understand, entrepreneur and business owner versus like this
Yes.
big drudgery of a shoot. Here's another finance book that someone recommended. I really can't, I don't want to go through it, but that's where it's like just bottom shelf. I'm a bottom shelf type person. like
Hell
I
yeah.
and so that's why I want to get this out to you. So yeah, simplecfo.com/cash geeks.
I love it. Dude, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people maybe weren't expecting something like this, and as they're hearing this, they're like, "Dude, this is exactly what I fucking need."
Yeah.
Because I know that's how it was for me.
I get it
And
a
I
lot.
promise you, when you were on stage, man, you were talking about the stories, and it's funny because you highlight, like, our life so well, right? Because you were
Oh,
in
yeah.
it. So,
Yep.
like, just going to the mastermind and just feeling like you have to do more deals than the other guys in the mastermind. No one's
Yes.
talking about how much we're keeping. We're all just talking about how much we're making and how many deals are coming in and blah, 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 blah. So when you said that in the book, I was like, "Oh, dude, I was that fucking guy," you
Yeah.
know?
So
Um,
was I. So was
yes.
the people in the book.
So is
It's
everyone.
like, so was
Correct.
everyone else. I think that's the other thing too that I really like to touch on is that we all struggle with money. Everyone. It's emotional. It touches our personal life. It touches our business. It touches generations. It touches past, future, present, like everything. And yet we all think we're on that island alone. That's
Right,
another reason I wrote that book too. It's like no one is alone here. Like
right.
literally, we are working with over 150 people on a monthly basis with Simple CFO. We have new people coming in all the time. Have a ton of CFOs on the team, like over 40 now. It's like this is
Jesus.
something that people it's growing so big
It's
because so
me.
many people need the help.
Yeah,
So it's like you are not alone. You do not need to feel ashamed, embarrassed. Like wherever you are now, I've probably seen worse.
yeah,
Like with either knowledge base or book setup, no books, 7 years of no tax returns filed. Like
yeah.
I've seen everything under the sun, and it's like I'm just trying to give people a safe place to talk about their money and be
Um,
like, "This is where we are. Can you help?" So that's where this is the great first step. Get the
yeah.
cheat sheet. Can you implement some of this? Give yourself some peace of mind. Put some more money in your pocket.
No, that's awesome, man. So everybody who can't, if you're watching this, you can see it at the bottom, simplecfo.com/cashgeeks. Um, and David, thank you so much for being an open book, sharing, giving
Yeah.
some resources. How can people follow you? Do you have Instagram, Facebook? Where can they
Yeah.
follow your journey?
I've got Instagram, Richter Scale 91, and then Facebook. I believe my link. He's popped it up here a couple times. So I am on Facebook. Just look up David Richter. I'm on Instagram too. We do have a Profit First for Real Estate Investing for Real Estate Investors Facebook group. It's
Oh,
free.
nice.
Not pitching anything. That's just where people ask their questions. Throughout the week if they have anything on Profit First or how do I apply it to this specific situation or whatever it might be. So you can join the community there too as well. And that's just we're trying to give answers to people as they have them. So that's a couple different ways you can interact here if you want more. We also have a podcast, the Profit First REI podcast.
Oh,
If you
that's
go to
right.
some,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm just trying to get stories on there and people that have implemented it. So you're not alone. There is light at the end of the tunnel, no matter where you are. If you're in debt up to your eyeballs and like behind the eight ball and like just trying to suck air, out of straw, we're trying to give you hope on there. And if you're doing great, here's a system to help you get better.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So, David, thank you so much again. Everybody who tuned in, maybe you saw a little bit of this or you're just hearing the end of this, make sure that you rewatch this on our YouTube channel, the Cash Geeks Network, or on my personal Facebook. And with that being said, guys, I will see you next week, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Peace.